Hello, my name is Georgio Sabino. I'm an artist in Ohio, and I am looking forward to this interview.
And how long have you worked, Mr. Sabino, as an artist?
Seventh grade was when I pursued the arts professionally, or at least um, knowing what I wanted to do in life. And so I've put the shoes of responsibility on at a very early age to walk the walk and talk the talk. So uh, many years is what I would say.
Well, I'd like to hear more about that part of your life when you're making this decision, seventh grade, that you're going to do this for the rest of your life. So, can you tell me a little bit about your family background and the schools that you attended?
Yes, I come from a family of 10. I'm five boys, five girls. I'm number nine of 10. Wonderful family. They encouraged me to be my best, do my best, and go after my dreams, which is how I ended up where I am today in this seat. Uh, so that was the beautiful part about um, having the support, but no one knew art. They knew business. And so I had to learn business on my way, and that was one of the things that they provided versus an art school. Um, so I was able to have two worlds in a sense, of one being the art side of pursuing it from a very early age to figuring out what business is, watching all of my other siblings.
It's a big family.
Very much
Yeah.
so.
And you're number nine of 10.
That's correct.
Um, Feel free to mention names if you want.
Okay.
And since you mentioned seventh grade, if you'd like to tell us the names of the various schools that you attended here in Northeast Ohio.
Yes, Dominion Middle School is where I knew what I wanted to do. We were painting an M.C. Escher painting of a dragon, and it set me into my life and career, along with Giorgio Armani being at his height in the suit world. So I gravitated to those two worlds and moved forward to high school in Whetstone High School in Columbus. And then my parents moved to Findlay, Ohio, so I went to Findlay University, Findlay High School. Uh, and that school had everything that I could dream of, from fashion design classes to interior design classes to jewelry making, ceramics, drawing, painting. And so it had a plethora of things that I was able to take to pursue in my career. So I had an art show as well as a fashion show in high school.
So it's primarily in the academic setting that you find the inspiration for the art that you were creating then and that you continue to create now.
I would say that's part of it. Obviously, my personal life is where I chose it, and then academic world to research, find the things that I enjoyed because they were presenting me new opportunities to explore in art and into different types of subject matter. So that allowed me to flourish in my game.
Now, you mentioned some of the artists slash designers who inspired you, but I've also read that you design textiles.
That's correct. Yeah.
So now, are you a tailor as well as a designer of the textiles that the tailors work with?
I say I used to be a tailor. I'm doing so many things, so I had to stop sewing. But I got into hand painting silk when I was in college, and then taking that work to the fashion school and creating my work. Vice versa, I was taking my artwork and drawings from the fashion world and bringing it into the art world. And in the 90s, that wasn't such a cool thing. Art and fashion weren't relating, whereas today in this present world, everything is art, and everyone recognizes art as art. But yeah, that's how it started.
It's interesting to hear you say that, and certainly this is your story. You can say whatever you're comfortable sharing. But having taken just a minute ago a look at your biography, um, there's something there that suggests that you're also a scientist. So, can you tell me about the technology based art through augmented reality that you share with the world?
Absolutely. Uh, so I create an artwork, whether it's painting or whether it's a digital paint or a digital drawing, and then turn it into uh, fabric. So now you have my designs in fabric, whether usually silk or a silk blend with satin. And from there, I create a dress, and then I put it on a model, and then I add AR to that digital work. And so that way, when you put your phone up to that dress, either while on the runway, that dress will now come alive with the technology now existing for that to happen. So now you can imagine hummingbirds and butterflies flying around the woman while she's walking on a runway, which I got to show in Paris, which was quite wonderful.
Now, is this kind of thing, this blending of art, ideas, and technology, is that a commonplace?
I would say we're moving into that comfortable space. Trying to be on the forefront of cutting edge, artistry. You're always looking for what's going on in the world, what's new, what's happening, such as AI, and where we're going with that world, and how we're going to design and imagine ourselves in the next 10 to 20 years and what that looks like. So we're at the cusp. It's very similar to the digital world in photography. When digital was coming out, the old school didn't like digital, but now digital has replaced old school. So there's no more. It's rare that someone's using 35 millimeter, etc.
Mhm. So, photography, the visual arts, they can be both art and science. Are you concerned that it might stifle creativity, or is it enhancing the creative impulse as far as you're concerned?
John Isaac was a gentleman that I had a chance to talk to, and he's a photographer that recovered Rwanda and recovered Bosnia and various things for National Geographic. Shared with me that it's about taking the photo no matter what camera you're using. So if you had a 110 or a 35 millimeter, as long as you got a composition correctly, the world should accept it because you've found a space where it's art. And you're capturing something that when you apply the principles of art and design to that work, you now have created such a body of work that it should stimulate the imagination and the viewer. So he was one of the people that I was able to share and talk to and learn that it's not about the best technology, it's about what you create with your eye.
Thank you so much for sharing. I do have a list of questions in front of me, and you've seen that list, so you know that wasn't one of the questions, but I thank you certainly for answering it. You described, we're not going to describe this as a nomadic existence in your early life, but then your parents moved around a little bit. But I'm always in the state of Ohio, it seems to me. But I'm wondering what attracted your family to this part of the country, or are you all natives of Ohio?
No, my dad comes from the Georgia world, and my mom comes from Pascagoula, Mississippi. So they met here in Ohio, in Columbus, Ohio, and where they resided. And then I went to Kent for my undergrad, and then a double master's at Case and Cleveland Institute of Art.
Did your parents ever tell you what attracted them to Ohio and then to each other? If there's a wonderful love story in there you want to share?
That's a great question. I've never asked a question in such a manner. Maybe my sisters know all of those because that's usually who would ask that type of question. From what I know, they met and had a love story and enjoyed one another, and obviously created more children. So, but that's how I see it.
And did your relatives remain here in the state of Ohio?
They ended up in Kearneysville, West Virginia. So we moved from Findlay, Ohio to Parkersburg, West Virginia to Kearneysville. And that's because Dad had a job where he took people to lunch because he worked for Roadway Express, a trucking company. And so it was giving us a Bel Air kind of lifestyle, which was quite wonderful.
And I'm wondering also, Mr. Sabino, since you mentioned your experiences in the fashion world, and I think I've heard Paris at least once in conversations with you, but have you had the opportunity to live and work in other parts of the world for extensive periods of time?
After college, I moved to New York City, which brought me back to Cleveland, which was a beautiful time of learning how the art game is played in New York and having shows at the Puck Building and various other art shows with Blessing Game, which was the gentleman that gave me a chance to show my work while in college. So I was doing fashion shows while in college on a New York level, and which was a phenomenal time in my senior year. After moving back from New York to here, I ended up winning an award, which was the Tower Press under Mayor Michael Waite, who gave a $2 million grant for us artists, 20 of us artists, to live and work here on 19th and Superior. So we had a beautiful time creating this body of work at that time. We got Hector Vega and Bruce Conforti and others who were just amazing artists in the time, and we truly got a chance to show Cleveland what we can do.
Okay. And do you see yourself remaining in Greater Cleveland, or are you willing to travel, explore other parts of the world, and make art there?
Yes. So I'm in a dilemma because I have a son who is now at the University of Cincinnati, and it allows me to be a empty nester. So I'm in a debate with myself constantly of am I moving to San Diego or am I moving to Paris? Those are the top two that I would move to. So, or am I staying in Cleveland? So I'm in a debate that maybe will be forever, but the goal is to figure out what my next move is. Like I've always planned my life, as my parents asked me to, which is where are you going to be in the next 5 years, just as much as I share it with my son. And so I have to ask myself, whether daily or yearly, what's my plan?
Having been inspired by and supported by parents, patrons, do you see yourself at this point in time as an artist who also teaches, or are you a teaching artist? How would you describe yourself at this point?
Artist teacher, as Case Western had us write an article about that. Which one are we? Are we teacher artist or artist teacher? And I find myself the artist teacher, and that teaches aesthetics and business. And so for my young students, I share that, no matter if they ever make a mistake, the goal is to make a mistake in art, and that way you can learn from it, but also your art becomes better because of your mistake. And so when you're in that K to 12 period, those young minds need to know that it's okay. And I share with them who's all made mistakes in art, or what doesn't look like, what's not perfect. They can grasp that and say, okay, now I see that this can make money. And as far as collegiately, Erston College and Virginia Marty and Tri-C are three places that I've taught as well, to share that very similar story of, creating art is about, the process and also the enjoyment of making something, but also your fulfillment of yourself.
And now that we know that you describe yourself with this hyphenated term, artist dash teacher, is there one word that best describes your work?
Best describes what?
Your work.
My work. Oh my goodness.
If you can describe it in one word, or use as many words as you like.
Being a interdisciplinary artist on multiple levels, it's harder to put myself in one box, only because there's many things that you apply to oneself. So I can say that I'm a painter. If I had to describe that, then I can describe that. But then I take it to somewhere else, and I describe it more like this. If you're good in math, science, and English and all the core academically, how do you put yourself in one box? Because you're able to put yourself in other places to say, okay, I can do finances, I can write very well and read very well. So how do you take yourself and say, I'm only one box? So when I hear that type of question, it's how do I put myself into one category when I know that I have a multitude of ways to express myself?
Mr. Sabino, I'm someone who loves the arts, visual arts, fine and performing arts, poetry, as well as fiction and painting. Van Gogh style. But I also love the humanities. I love history and art history. And so I'm wondering if your productivity at the graduate level, um, it's not a written dissertation that's required of students in the visual arts. Can you tell me what it is that you produced
Okay.
as an artist and a scholar, in graduate school? What would that look like for you if it's not a bound volume that sits on a shelf?
Right. At that time in my life, I was thinking about the complexity of life, of what I had to go through in my experiences, and I came up with a body of work called Educational Genocide, and that work describes myself, but also others when I look outwardly, that we all go through a struggle. We all go through different periods of time where we are uh, uh, working to get to the place that we're going towards. And so when I think of the work, one is called Blocks of Fire, and it is my work then was about how many different levels can I create within one work of art. This work is 6 by 6 feet in oils, and it describes if something was blocking you. So I call them obstacles. Some people could call them monsters. Some people can call them a force field. If something mentally was blocking you, how do you get around it? How do you go through it? How do you survive? Or vice versa, if someone's physically throwing something at you. And as I said, this work is called Blocks of Fire. So if you can imagine a fireball coming at you, how do you maneuver in a way to make sure that you're safe, but in addition, that you're happy? And so I created a body of work, Educational Genocide, to do such. The other one is called The Whipping Beast. So it deals with productivity and your mind, and we can call it your roommate. The wonderful work of art that I read is The Untethered Soul. That describes the person that you're speaking to inside your mind is your roommate, and that person's going to be with you. So I had another version of how I speak about it, and until I read this work. And so when I think about the whipping beast, you get up in the morning and you say, what do I have to do? You create you a list, and you begin to work at your list, or your job created you a list, and you got to fulfill that list. So whether it's physically or mentally, you now have to go through this world knowing that you are provided a list of things that you have to do, and that's why I call the work the whipping beast, because you either whipping yourself or your boss is whipping you, or but it also deals with racism as well. So it's a very unique work that I now probably have 300 to 400 paintings to do, because I have less time. I still dream about this. I still thrive to make more work. And so now I write the titles that I want and put it in my calendar, so it's things that I will do in my later life when I have the more time to actually paint. And so it's very interesting how I come up with this method, because I write about it in my notes, and I title it, and it's just a fun process that I look forward to getting to.
Thank you so much. And as you know, that question wasn't on the list either. But, when I think about the archives, for example, the African American archives of the Western Reserve Historical Society, where I'm employed, I'm usually thinking about boxes of paper or boxes of photographs, two-dimensional objects, but flat
Right.
and lightweight. And then I hear you talk about a painting that's 6 feet by 6 feet. What does an artist archive look like?
Oh my goodness. It depends on your body of work, and I say that because if you are a photographer, you don't have to print right away, and if you are printing, then you have it depends on the size that you're printing. Vice versa, as a painter, it depends how much you're working as far as the size as well, but obviously it takes space, and so. And then, of course, the amount of fabric that I've collected over the years. There was a time where I used to just go out to New York and go to all of the shops and find the different silks and silk blends to take back to Kent, vice versa, when I continued when I was in New York. And so, and the place that I used to share my work was a young lady named Lisa and Charles, who owned a store named Soulfire that I was able to exhibit on Orchard Street in between Delancey and Bloom. So bringing as much fabric back home, so now you can see the complexity of having many things that you do and then applying it. So I have to create room for artwork such as I'm sharing on paper with frames to paintings that are large and small and vice versa, having the rolls of a fabric as well, and the tools that go with that.
It seems to me, again, we move in different circles,
Mm.
but we met each other. So maybe what are they? They're not concentric circles, but they kind of overlap, perhaps. And we both know Stacy Brisker, brilliant special collections librarian here
Absolutely.
at Cleveland Public Library. And I thank her always for introducing me to her incredibly gifted and talented colleagues. But for a writer, as someone in the humanities, certainly someone who loves history and writes history, and am always grateful that some of the things that I wrote got published. But it feels like a very solitary kind of endeavor. You know, you do it best, the writing at least, when you're alone. And then, you know, there's this peer review process. That process of creating art and making photography, are there peers who work with you? Is there a school of thought that you associate yourself with? Or are you pretty much, you know, getting the shot by yourself without any
Right.
input from others?
Right. It depends because I've had a lot of jobs from different clients or different associations that allowed me to take photos for them. And of course, some come with, here's a list of what things that I want and the angles that I wish for as well. So so when I think of the job wise, that's one avenue that I had to look at. Now I come from a background where I didn't know I was ever going to learn photography. And my senior year at Kent, last semester, I said, you probably should learn how to take a photo. But I ended up going to the Kent Stater, which was their newspaper, and asking them to photograph since they were the professionals, paid them to take my work. And then when I went to New York, I moved back and said, I need to become a photographer due to the fact that I was paying photographers out there, which is very expensive. And so I became a photographer. And the beauty is that I had I became an artist young, which gave me the ability to see composition as I walk around. And that is probably the biggest difference between someone who just takes photos and someone who actually can take a photo. And so when you see composition, you click then. And a lot of people say, why do you take it so fast? And it's like, well, I saw it, you know, like sometimes I'll count down 1, 2, and I told them 3, but I saw it on 2 because they were in that space. So, or I'm, you know, more like a sniper where you just wait for that photograph to happen. And so there's huge differences when you can see it and then you just snap and be able to lock in aperture, shutter, and light. And so my goal, and for when I was even teaching, is to share how do you take photos as if you want everything on the front page of a newspaper or a magazine. And that's how I've learned to shoot and taught other folks how to become that.
Mr. Sabino, I thank you so much for your time. As I'm sure you know, these first-person narratives from contributing artists with a touch of flair are part of a week-long celebration, if you will, the 50th anniversary of the National Association of Black Journalists. And I'm sure there are going to be lots of photojournalists, lots of arts reporters in our great city. So I'm looking forward to that. But I'm wondering, since we're coming to the end of your story and your work will be on display, is there anything else that you would like viewers and listeners to know about the art that you are making in this moment in our history in the United States of America?
Yes, is the thought. Happened to come a long way in photography to build a body of work. It's happened because of the people behind me and who supported me or provided me with a job, and so I thank all of them to be able to create this body of work that I have over my lifetime. And you know, when I first got into photography, I asked George Fraser, who had a conference here with 25,000 people downtown Cleveland, can I be his official photographer? And he said yes. And to be able to photograph some prominent people that he brought into town, or others who came to this town and hired me to go on national tours um, in the music industry, or the high-end models that walked New York and Paris's fashion shows, has been a dream. And when I think of all the different things that I've gotten to accomplish, and to share the ones that are next to me, which is probably the greatest highlight, being born and raised in Columbus, Ohio, and having the Buckeyes win the first national playoff championship, and then to have someone sign my work, who was a president, is endearing, and special. And when I think of the following year, it happened again with the Cavaliers winning the championship and having all of that glory once again. Is like, how do you repeat this dream? Not ever knowing I was going to be a photographer, and then actually being in a room where they only invite so many photographers to be in. And here I am, a kid from Columbus, creating this body of work. So I look forward to this next bodies of work that I'm going to create, on many different topics. One, because I photograph and been a part of some of the well-known magazines today, through Jet to Essence to various other publications, has shown my work. And so I have no idea where I'm going to be published next, but the beauty is that I love working, can't wait to work, and ready to share my work.
Okay. Well, again, thank you so much for sharing. You saved the best for last. The Obama White House, that's a tough act to follow, but I look forward to seeing the next chapter in your body of work as well.
Oh yeah.
Take
Thank
care.
you. Thank you. Thank you very much.